You can answer me about the image on there later.
Hey guys, I have a special guest star. This is my BFF Tracy, who is also a very magical being. Say hi, Tracy.
Hi. Hi, Tracy.
And so today I wanted to talk to you guys about sorcery with bodies. And so I just finished having an amazing body session with Tracy, who I highly recommend. And as energetic beings, I mean, one of the things that's most important is that we take really freaking excellent care of our bodies. And so it's not just, learning all these sorcery methods so that you can practice them on other people. It's learning all of these sorcery methods so that you can incorporate them into your everyday and incorporate them into your healing process and incorporate them into the direction of your life. And so Tracy and I have been trained to do some of the same things, and then Tracy's had a ton more shamanic training than I have had, and like a bunch of different other modalities that she knows, and then there's some other things that I know that she doesn't know. And so when we get together, what's possible is infinite. It's just absolutely infinite. And that's one of the things that I would say, as a sorceress of your own success, stepping into the infinity space will always include your body. And I was talking to Tracy when she was running energy on me and working with my body, and asking her, like, how do you explain what it is that you do in your sessions? And I was saying to her, like, back in the day when I was facilitating classes for Access Consciousness, people would come and they would want these Access Consciousness body processes. And so, of course, there was like this manual with like 60 or 70 body processes in it. And so, I was trained to be able to maybe direct down to a few different body processes, and then allow the person to choose from the body processes that, we could take it down to. But then I would always allow them to choose something different. And I used to joke, I would call it bento box 3. I'm like, okay, well, you can have any of these body processes, but you can also have bento box 3. And I would say 90% of the time, 95% even of the time, that people would choose to just allow what the body could have. And so when it's from the infinite space, even the words that you need to have, or the words that you're sort of programmed to choose, might come from lack rather than from the infinite space. And so Tracy was saying the same. Like, her clients would come to her and they would say, oh, well, I think I might want to have like Reiki or
my magic.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I call it, body magic.
Yeah, body magic. And, and then what the body shows, and then following the energy on the body, regardless of what it is that I call your modality garage, but like what it is that you have is yours, and you have possession of it. You bought the vehicles and you have possession of those vehicles. They are in your modality garage. And so yesterday when we were talking about wealth and how your clients come in, maybe they're asking for Reiki, maybe they're asking for quantum healing, maybe they're talking to you about shamanism or some sort of like earth magic. And what is possible when two people come together is always so much more infinitely available. That's from the quantum. Can I just put my hand right in behind your back right there? And so maybe you're adept. Maybe you can perceive the energies of what's happening right now. I always find it very interesting that people are like, well, I want to see what you do. I want to see what you do. And it's like, well, do you ask your chiropractor to see what they do before you allow them to touch you? Sometimes you come across a chiropractor at one of those health fairs or whatever, and you check them out at the health fair. But in many cases, you have to invest in the process, and you have to trust your own guidance method of, like, how do you get people together? Like, Tracy and I circulated in the same circles, gosh, I don't know, maybe for 5 years before we became friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and now Tracy's moved out closer to me. She lives within an hour of me now, which is freaking great. I feel like I'm laying on your hair. And, she used to live in Saskatchewan, but I did go out. I facilitated in Saskatchewan and did a class that Tracy was my host. And then we also had the same coach for some years. And, so it's like, what is guidance showing you? And, when we think about the sorcery aspect of being the sorceress of your own success, it's like being a sorceress is using all of the elements. All of the elements. And I would say your body is the biggest guide. Like, we were having this conversation about, like, eating. And Tracy was talking about some different stuff that happened to her. And, it totally happened to me as a child, too. Where, your sovereignty for what you wanted to eat was taken away from you as a child. And then what can happen is you learn not to trust your own inner GPS. And that process of bringing that GPS back on the line, becoming sovereign with your choices, with your body, with your relationships, with your finances. And then once you've gone through that, then you move into becoming a sorceress with your own body. And that could be something so, it's almost like a feather touch. Like Tracy was saying that her daughter decided to do this thing, and Tracy totally knew that there was something up, and then she was like, I'm not even going to phone her. I'll let her phone me. And so then when she finally phoned, Tracy had already knew, but the grandchildren were like, oh, Granny already knows, Mom. Don't even worry about it. Granny already knows. And, so that feather touch of awareness is always key. And so that's why the sorcery for the bodies is the first element. Once you learn how your body creates magic and what awareness that your body has with magic, then what can happen is just infinite. Like, I know that people are thinking about me. I know what they're thinking. I know when they're thinking it. And, is there any responsibility on my behalf to do anything about it? No. I used to think that if I was aware with my body that something needed to be done, that if I was the person who was aware of it, then I was the person who was responsible for the trajectory of it. And I would say that that is absolutely not true. Not true. Just because I'm aware that somebody is thinking about doing something or, has me on their radar for something doesn't mean that I'm the one that needs to go to them and help them make any choices whatsoever. And, just thinking about your daughter, if she wanted to ask you questions, she totally could have asked you questions about that choice. And she's, like my kids have grown up with me as their mom. And, it's funny, I don't know if your kids do the same thing, Tracy, but because I've taught them how to make sovereign decisions and, that whatever decisions that they make, whether the data's good or whether the data's corrupt, they're their individual decisions. And I've always been able to, point them at respecting, okay, well, you got some data and, they do phone me. I am my own children's ride or die for sure. And in most cases, I'm like, oh God, I'm really thinking of my kids today. And then ring, the phone rings. And so, it's externally focused a lot of the time. I would say for women, it's like, oh, well, I need to know what's going on in my workplace. I need to know what's going on with my clients. I need to know what's going on with my finances. I need to know what's going on with my relationships. And so, you've got all of these sort of satellites in the atmosphere collecting data. Now, is that data something for you to act on every single time that you collect the data? And I would say absolutely not. But you do need to have a decision-making process for the data. And so that sorcery in your body, the magic of your body, the perceptive energy of your body is so freaking key. And, so to spend a whole entire module, like a month, investigating different processes for your body to be able to heal itself, for your body to be able to receive information, even information that you don't want to have, like if somebody's jealous of you or somebody's angry at you or whatever. And where is that energy coming from? Is it coming from the past? Is it coming from the future? Like I have so many different things that I would love to share with you. And so it's so cool that my friend said that I could have her on the table, because people are like, well, I know you do energetic body work, but you don't show it. I'm like, well, who does energetic body work and shows it? It's a very private thing for me. Sometimes I've got music cranked and, I'm waving my hands everywhere, and, it's more like dancing with the molecules of my clients. And sometimes it's very, very quiet. Sometimes it's just holding my clients. And sometimes we don't even talk at all. I know that seems impossible. They're like, Jennifer, you're not talking. That's very weird. Yeah, sometimes I just don't say anything. And sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I'm aware of some energy sitting there. And then I allow my clients to talk and sort of process themselves and bring that energy up out of their body so that I can get a hold of it, and together we can transmute it.
Well, and you have such a brilliance with bodies. You have a brilliance with energy. Anybody choosing to have you facilitate them in them learning, taking it to the next level, freaking dynamic. As my whole body is laying here buzzing.
Yeah. And it's like
it's a whole month
of just the body sorcery. Just the body sorcery. And then we move into sorcery with relationships, and then sorcery with their wealth and finances.
Oh, what a brilliant program.
Yeah. And the body is such a gateway. Like, this is why we're here. We've decided that we're going to have an experience in our earth vehicle, and that becomes your interface. How you approach your whole entire life. So even before we got on, we were talking about like nutrition and like high vibe food, and how some different places out there, like this Access Consciousness that I was certified to facilitate for years, they always had all of this like candy and chips and chocolate, and their point of view was that you could clear any sort of energy attachments to that food, and allow that food to contribute to you, because it all just goes down to like macro ingredients. And what I've discovered with my own body is, irregardless of the macro ingredients, my body really needs to have food that is as close to, carrot pulled out of the ground, or a potato dug out of the ground, or, beef that's, out in somebody's pasture, not from a feedlot, or, pork that's grown on a farm where the pork is ethically raised, like pasture raised, grass fed, beautiful, animal, and also ethically harvested, you know, not trauma harvested even. And, you know, so part of that process of becoming a sorceress with your own body is knowing, you know, what are the foods that really add to me being a, you know, a high vibe being. And so Tracy was telling me that she was working with one of her coaches, and coaches always have coaches. Please find out who your coaches are working with, what they're working on, and it might be something that you're not ready to choose in many cases. And, you know, but know that in many cases the coaches are doing the work for you, and, you know, bringing in through that interface their own personal work. You know, nobody wants a board certified or a non-board certified plastic surgeon cutting into your face. So maybe, you know, working with coaches who aren't actively working with coaches on their own thing is not a thing that I would recommend.
Nope.
And then we were also talking about those sort of like low vibe choices that people can make. Like, if you've been watching my stuff, you know that I haven't actually had anything to drink, no alcohol, since early 2020. And that was one of the choices that I made when that frequency came in. I was like, well, how do I get through this? And my body was like, how about just don't drink wine? And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I just don't drink anything for 6 months. And the choices that I was able to make not drinking anything for 6 months, I became aware of the places and spaces where I was using wine as something like a tool rather than something that I could enjoy. And then there's also other things in your life that you may be using as a tool rather than something you enjoy. And so when we're in that sorcery process with your body, it becomes an inquiry process about how magic you really are as a being. And, you know, there's some truth in, you know, we teach what we need, or we teach what we've transmuted, is what I say. And, you know, you become an expert. You may have noticed this in your life, that you become an expert in the places and spaces where you have had a less than stellar journey. And one of the things that I am really noticing is my network. And, you know, I really, really have extraordinarily talented friends, extraordinarily talented coaches and trainers that I've worked with. And part of being in the Sorceress of Success journey with me is that you're going to get to see what some of these people are capable of and experience what some of these people are capable of. And that's not me saying, hey, go sign up for this person's thing. That's me inviting this person in a place and space where I feel like they have gorgeous energy to contribute to us, contribute to me, because I'm always learning something new. And, you know, add to that element of you becoming the sorceress of your own success. And whatever success means to you, you guys. I always say if success is an off-grid cabin with a beautiful view on a lake or a river like me, or it's a Louis Vuitton bag, or it's a, you know, a Maserati SUV, you get to choose what success is for you. And then you also get to discover and learn what being a sorceress is and what it's not. You know, I would say some of the things that I call galloping off in all directions, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, because I was so perceptive, I felt like it was my responsibility to help people make changes, you know, running off, people pleasing, problem solving. And you know, it was sort of an energy of no good deed goes unpunished, right? And, you know, like I've heard stories from you definitely that you've done that, where you're like, oh, well, this is what's happening. And the people are like, no, it fucking isn't. So they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear what's happening. and you know, they don't want to see what's happening. And just because you're the most perceptive person in the room doesn't mean it's your responsibility to do anything with it. And I would say that's probably the most valuable thing for people who are super perceptive, is what are they going to do with that energy. And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's nothing, you guys. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, just because you are response able doesn't mean you have to do anything with it. And, you know, I tend to attract highly responsible people who feel like, oh, I need to do something with this. And, you know, that deconditioning journey where, you know, I show them, okay, well, here's some of the themes you may want to put more energy behind, and here's some of the themes that you may want to take energy out from, you know, because not everybody's supposed to show up on camera. Some people are just supposed to like create programs, and then the people who are supposed to show up on camera are supposed to be the people who show up on camera. And so that takes some of the weight off of you. You don't have to be the person that other people are telling you you need to be. And, you know, some of the modalities that I use, like astrology, like human design, like gene keys, are meant to be guides. They're meant to be maps. And that's it. It's like it becomes part of your life buffet. Like, you can choose it. You don't have to have the tomato aspic. You don't have to have Baron and beef if you don't want it. And yeah, that's sort of what I wanted to leave you with today, you guys. I'm going to shut the camera off, and I'm going to continue the rest of Tracy's session. Thank you so much for letting me put you on camera.
Oh, no problem. I'll receive energy from you any day.
Yeah, so any questions that you guys have, we're going to go live tomorrow talking about relationship sorcery. And if you're interested in that, please join me. This is day 4 of a 9-day event that I'm hosting on my Facebook profile. And if you haven't watched the first 4 videos, you might want to check those out. Thank you so much for watching today, you guys. Ciao.